that Mark Holmes had. Let's bring in our friend Xander Kraus, who watched that whole thing.
What's up, Big Sills?
Xander, who the fuck are you? I'm getting quoted. Xander Kraus confirms now. Dude, kudos to you, brother. Holy shit, man. People are like, giving you love now around the country now. And that's a testament to Birds 365. Way to go, bro.
That's a testament to Big Sills. Big Sills will make anybody a star. I appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely. So what'd you make of that whole thing with Mark Holmes and with Philly 500?
Gosh. I was in tears. I'm cracking up behind my screen. When 500 dropped that comment, his pussy is dripping or whatever the heck he said, I was losing it over here. I'm trying to figure out how to get that into my thumbnail without violating YouTube's policies or whatever the heck they got. So that was really an all-time segment right there. But I got to give an easy win there to Philly 500. He is moonwalking Mark Holmes. But let me say this about Mark Holmes. I know everybody's not a fan, or they say they're not fans of Mark Holmes. I love Mark Holmes.
Me too.
For him to come into the Thunderdome every week and to take that and to hold his own and to that's a guy that I can respect. Right. I might not like his football team, but I can respect that. So I'm good. Mark Holmes is the man. I'm good with that. That was a great segment, though.
How about this, though? He did come up with a comment and he said this. So everyone's blaming Brian Johnson for Jalen Hurts' ills last year playing the quarterback position. And then he turns around and then you turn around and you hire a guy who you call a choke artist in Dak, and you hire his coordinator. Prince brought up the fact, but Sills, the same common denominator is that Dak had the same result, whether it was with Kellen Moore or Mike McCarthy. It was still the same nuclear meltdown in the postseason. Do you land on that pod because it's Dak? Dak struggles in the postseason like a Kirk Cousins?
Well, it is true, right? I mean, he has had the same result with different guys. So, but I will say, I mean, if we're going to be optimistic on it, Dak did have a good offense with Kellen Moore in Dallas. Now, they had the running game. They had a lot of other components, but I'm optimistic on our offense and what Kellen can be. My only fear is that he's not going to use Jalen for what Jalen is. But, look, I agree with 500, what 500 said, where it's like you're bringing in a coordinator, 95% new to Jalen Hurts, but he's going to tailor this offense to Jalen Hurts. So maybe also – Kellen Moore might have grown as a coach as well. You learn things each year. You get better at this. He's a young guy. He's a good offensive mind. I think everybody can agree with that. And it'll be interesting to see, man. He's got a cast of characters here in Philadelphia that any offensive coordinator would salivate over. And what he does with it, I'm curious to see. But right? I mean, it's almost like, Kellen, if you mess this up with this offense and this amount of playmakers, you might as well just hang it up. Because this is a dream scenario for him. And I think the Eagles offense is going to be great this year.
Do you know that last year, in my opinion, it exposed Matt Patricia? Because, hey, maybe he wasn't a good head coach in Detroit with those 3 Super Bowl rings, and you saw what he did a year ago. I would never hire that guy as a defensive coordinator anywhere because he was not good last year. And like you said, I think that guy has a tough time unless it's a Patriot type connection guy ever getting a job again in the National Football League, because I'm not hiring that guy.
Yeah, let me ask you good point.
A couple questions here on this one too before we get into some of the other ones here. You think that 1964 Calvin Johnson all-time single season receiving yards will go down this year with either A.J. Brown or with Tyreek, or maybe even Diggs down in Houston?
Well, it can't be Justin Jefferson now.
No, I just don't think Minnesota. I don't. Then again,
no, because
he had 1,100 yards in 8 games.
They don't have a vehicle to get him the football. I mean, I don't know who's going to be their quarterback.
J.J. McCarthy.
Is he going to start though?
Over Sam Darnold, I don't know. Sam Darnold's
actually a guy that, I mean, I wonder about him coming out of that. See, he had a year with Kyle Shanahan out there. I wonder because he was a pretty highly regarded prospect coming out of college. Now, he hasn't lived up to the hype, obviously, but I wonder if he can. I mean, I don't think J.J. McCarthy is going to shoe in over him. He can probably get Jefferson the football better. But what's the record, Sills? Over 2,000, right? It's like 21?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. How close were we last
1964.
year?
1964, Calvin Johnson's record.
1964.
Yeah, 1964 is the
Yeah, the
single
New York.
season.
Okay.
It's the single season by Calvin Johnson, Megatron in Detroit. That's how many yards. That's the all-time single season
Yeah,
number.
with Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it'll be beat. No. I mean, we
Cut
are
that
moving into
close.
an era of football where it will eventually be
There's an
beat.
extra game though now. He played in 16. So
Yeah, and
there's
it's
an
and the
extra
league
game.
is far more pass happy now
Yeah.
than they were when even Calvin Johnson, and that wasn't that long ago. I mean, he retired when 8 years ago or 9
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah.
Hey, you want to hear this? Here's a crazy stat about Calvin Johnson and Tom Brady. Tom Brady started playing, I think, 1 or 2 years before Calvin Johnson. He spanned the entire career of Calvin Johnson and played longer. Johnson went to the Hall of Fame in the same time frame
Brady was
during
still
Brady's
playing.
entire 25-year career. And in that 25-year career, Johnson played a whole career, went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame all in that same time, in the length of Tom Brady's career.
It's amazing how long Tom Brady stuck around. Father Time really didn't, and you could argue he probably could have kept going.
Dude, he
maybe a
led the
little
league
bit.
in attempts and completions the
Yes,
final
last
year.
year.
He had 26 touchdowns and 9 picks. And everyone goes, he sucked. I go, no, the Bucs defense blew out loud. All right. I want to go to this topic here because I saw this, and this was some of the people that have been saying something about the Eagles and what they're installing now. New playbook equals slow start. Team to start fast or slow. Kellen Moore said this the other day even. We're at the beginning of this thing, and we are installing this, and we've heard all the conversation. Xander, are you under the – how long do you think it takes for this offense? Once again, I think it's going to be a slow start. Do you think it's going to be a fast start?
No, but define slow start. I mean, I had him. What do you have him? 2-2 going into the bye week. I mean, I have him losing that first game to Green Bay. I just don't think it's a good spot for the Eagles. I think that's a tough first opponent in Brazil with all that BS. So
Falcons next, Saints after that, Bucks, and then bye.
Yeah, Saints, no. I don't know. I mean, I will say I'm worried that Jalen was acting like it's, like I said yesterday, we're 6 months into this thing. You got to start picking this thing up. You're only 80 days out or 86 days out, I think we are, from that opener. So how much are you going to make progress in 86 days when really you've had 150 days, already to learn it? Now, there's just not much time to implement, right? I mean, there's not a lot of on-field activity. There's not a lot of on-field work for the offense. So you really got to make a lot of hay in this training camp. But
I think they got to get together.
They'll be all right. Look, Kellen Moore has to understand that there's a ramp up period as well for the offense, where keep it simple, stupid a little bit to start. Do what you need to do to win ball games, and keep ramping it up, keep adding on to it as you figure out, and defenses start to change what they're doing to stop you.
See, I think DFW, one thing these guys did say is that when you have a new offense here, one thing under Jalen Hurts. Dude, that RPO is a simplistic offense. It's not a complicated offense. You're installing a very complicated offense where everybody, they've slowed so much that everybody and even the rookies were looking good against guys who are $25 million a year guys, and they were looking good against them because, again, I think it's got a lot to do with them not knowing what to do. Now, you're installing this. Dude, they're not installing anything in Kansas City. They're not installing anything in Houston. They're not installing anything in Green Bay. You're putting a brand new offense in. That's got to take half the year.
Yeah, it's one of my fears, because even when we went to the Super Bowl, that was year 2 with both of those coordinators. Now I wonder how much the gap is closed because of the experience we have with these coordinators. Like if it took us 2 years to figure it out with Steichen and Gannon, how quick can you figure it out?
That's a great point.
How much does the experience of the coaches close that gap? Is it 1 year or is it right? So that's one of the biggest things I'm watching. But you're
right. Steichen and Gannon had 1 year earlier. Then they had
Steichen actually had a little bit less.
They had 2 years to implement their offense and defense. No coordinator has had that since those two, right?
Yeah, but now keep in mind, Shane Steichen picked it up pretty quick.
He did 2-5 start, then he picked
took
it up
over at 2-5. So if you want to, I mean, he was still there, but
it's a great point.
let's just say he took over at 2-5. I'm gonna leave those 7 games out. They went what 9-8 that year, or 9-7?
9-8.
Was it still 16
9-8.
games that year?
Yeah,
No, it was 17, right? Yeah. So he went what? I mean, 7-6 or whatever it was.
Well, let's see.
No,
9-8.
7-3.
7-3. Yeah.
Not bad.
7-3.
Yeah. So 7-3 for him in his first year of calling plays. And then the next year they, 14-3, they finished the season and they went
think
to
about what he did. So they went 7-3 in that 21 season. Then they turned around and they won 14 games. Is that right? They won 14. They won 14 games. So in the time that he was a coordinator, he was 21-6. He won 21 out of 27.
They won 14 games in 22. Yeah. They won 14.
Okay, so get this. They won 21 out of 27 ball games with him as a coordinator.
He picked it up quick.
Smoking.
Do you think Kellen Moore and Shane Steichen are in a comparable room offensive mind wise? I think they are.
That's another great question.
You could actually argue that if Kellen Moore wasn't in Dallas, where they continuously choke in the playoffs, he wouldn't be here right now. He'd be the head coach somewhere. Remember, Shane Steichen had the benefit of a team that went all the way. That wasn't all on him. Now, he gets credit for the offense and stuff, but you got to have a coach, a quarterback, defense. Everybody's got to be on the same page. And they went the whole way.
I think Shane's better, and I'll tell you why. Okay? The year that Phillip Rivers was in Indianapolis, he was the OC for Frank.
Yeah.
And they pushed I forget who they pushed. May have been Cincinnati or Kansas City even. Maybe one of those teams that they pushed those guys to the fourth quarter. And Phillip had a great year. And he had been came in, and Shane was the coordinator on that team with Frank. And that was a 7-step guy. No one's ever going to compare Phillip Rivers to being an RPO quarterback. So there was a guy who could take a 7-step guy and proved me wrong and went like this. Well, Sills, that's not a 7-step guy. That's right. And Sirianni was also in that room in that year. He was also there. So those guys were all working together. It was Frank, Sirianni, and it was Steichen, all working with Frank. Fast forward, he comes in here and he looks at Jalen and goes, that guy right there, I guarantee you, if Shane Steichen walked into Philadelphia right now, they would be doing exactly the same shit they did in 22 because he's not going to try to turn him into Phillip Rivers. He's not. But what they're doing now with Kellen, they're trying to turn him into a better version of Dak.
I don't think you're right with that. I really don't.
They're not going to run the ball with him.
Dan, you just got done. Wait. You just got done explaining how good of a job Steichen did by going from Phillip Rivers to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Any good offensive mind is not going to apply Phillip Rivers' offense to Jalen Hurts. Why are you under the assumption that Kellen Moore is going to apply Dak's offense to Jalen?
They're not going to run him here. The RPO was there for them to use. They're not going to run RPO. Kellen didn't run it in Dallas. He didn't run RPO.
Jalen Hurts, though. I'm not gonna make the statement he's not gonna do it until I see it. I'm not, because you don't know. I mean, how would we know?
That's a brand new offense then for him, right? Okay.
For Kellen? Yeah, it was a brand new offense for Shane Steichen, too.
I believe it was.
Having a knack for play calling is having a knack for play calling.
Having a knack for play calling in in-game situation and also playing to the quarterback skill set is the two things a coordinator has to do. It's not about putting points and yards up for guys. It's about winning ball games.
Yeah, and I think Kellen Moore does have a knack for play calling. He was, listen, I hate Dallas like the next guy. When Kellen Moore was in Dallas, they had a good offense. That offense was humming. They were a tough team to beat. That's why he's part of the reason why Dak Prescott's record is what it is versus the Eagles.
Let me show you something here. In the last 3 years that Shane Steichen has been responsible for play calling in his quarterbacks, he's 30-14. The Colts were 9-8 last year. The year before that, they were 14-3 when he was calling plays in Philly, and he was 7-3 the year before that. That guy's 30-14 with two different styles of play calling. Two different styles. Okay. I
Well, he's
mean,
going to have Anthony Richardson back this year. That's going to be, you watch what he does with that guy. I love that Anthony
I think he's
Richardson.
a great. I think this
That
guy's at
guy,
the beginning
if
of
that
something
guy
great.
gets a coach, and I think he has a coach, that dude is it looks like a beast.
Do you
Now, I
know
don't know.
why?
We'll see. I mean, we'll see how it works out. But
Do you know why I was down on him? He was 51% completion percentage at Florida.
yeah, he
mean,
was not good in college.
I
He was
didn't
not
think
a great college player.
I did not think
But I
he
do
was
think
very
you can see he's trying to
accurate.
become a man now, and he's really grown into the body. He's really grown into his athleticism. That's what I mean. If he has the right coach who can hone that, I think that's going to be great for him. But let me ask you this, right? So you think Kellen Moore, and this is what I think. You think Kellen Moore isn't looking at that 22 year and saying, wait, my name's Kellen Moore. I want to become a head coach in the NFL one day. Who's the nearest example that I can take of somebody who did what I want to do? It's not last year. It's 22. How can I do what Shane Steichen did to make this offense work? So if his new offense doesn't include any of the things that worked here in Philadelphia, then he's a bad offensive
Okay,
coordinator.
well then look, then they're going to go the direct opposite with the RPOs from a year ago to now.
I think
They're going to go back to that. You
I
think
don't
they're
think they're
going
going to go
back?
to that heavy of a system. I think they might incorporate it though, especially like why do we sign Saquon Barkley then if they're not at least thinking of using some of these things to help Jalen?
No,
Right?
I think the reason Barkley was
it's all adding up. It's almost tough for me to be like, no, they're not going to do that just on speculation. I don't think so. I mean,
here's one thing Prince said. Princess A. Sills said that Shane wasn't play calling plays, the quarterback. He wasn't.
that's
Because
that's actually really true. It's almost Jalen Hurts' call every time.
That's
you
right.
run RPA.
That's right. He's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a play caller because he snaps the ball and he reads the end or he reads the safety and decides, do I run? Do I hand it off or do I throw? Run, pass option. It's on the quarterback. You're calling a particular RPO to a strength, right side, left side, formations, some motion, but it is the play caller is the quarterback. It's decision-making by the quarterback. When you have a 7-step guy, you have to have a pre-snap read on the safety or moving them around with your head to slide the defense. And you've got to have an area where you're kind of concerned where you already have a pre-snap understanding of where you want the ball to go. So you're moving people over here or in the middle of the field. You have to know that. So when you're snapping the ball, that quarterback or coach and that coordinator is helping you. Hey, run a wide 38 with a gimp with a post. That guy's going to know I have a pre-snap read. It's the strong safety. That's different than RPO. It's completely different. Completely different. When you're talking about Shane Steichen, that's why Shane, he took that style. He took the Jalen Hurts offense, and Anthony Richardson's running it in Indianapolis right now.
Yeah, and if Shane Steichen can call plays like he did here, then that's going to work. But what the weird thing about that is that requires a lot of Jalen Hurts reading at the line of scrimmage.
It's a simplistic. I think that's
it's
tougher.
A simplistic read, but it's still a very quick read. It's tough to do, right? It's not like this crazy complex thing, but he still has to make the read. Last year he struggled with this. Why? What are the other factors that could be at play that Jalen Hurts couldn't read at the line of scrimmage nearly as well as he could with the RPO?
Because he had to read progression reads because they were dropping him back more. That's why he struggled with blitzes. You didn't have blitzes and RPOs when you're running them. You're making a split decision. Right. You're not. See, and one thing you said to me, he was in the pocket longer last year. This year,
he couldn't make decisions.
Right, he was in the year before that. He wasn't in the pocket a lot. He was either out perimeter.
Last year, especially late in that year. Well, one thing we kept talking about, and I remember being in the green room with Seth Joyner and all the guys from the post-game show, watching the game with him every week. What a treat that was, watching the game with Seth and listening to how he broke down the game. Jalen went back a lot when he was not confident to the hold the ball, tuck, and run to the right. Yep. He defaulted to that a lot more versus in 22. He really got away from that because he was so quick with the ball at the line of scrimmage. Maybe it is all RPO based. And you have no choice but to go back to that. But I think the Eagles organization might wonder how sustainable that is.
That's why I don't think they're rolling the 22. A quarterback has 4 doors to go through: the front door, side door, back door, the other side door. There's 4 of them. Quarterback, not every quarterback is going to use those doors, and you're right. He loves that front door to his right, and it becomes predictable. That's why teams at the end of the year, what were they doing them? They were forcing him to roll left, and they were trying to move the string to the other side.
Throwing the ball when he's going to the left. You see, he goes cross body, and he really doesn't look comfortable when he does it. But this is what we're talking about here. I mean, this is the problem. RPO gets hurt, hit more. He didn't play every game in 22. That's true. I mean,
But you went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but
dude, I'll take 2 games off. You win the NFC title, I'm in.
This is where I think the business of the NFL gets in the way.
Yep. Remember what we said, you and me? Yeah. Hey, I'll take 9 years of Hurts running this. Get me to 2-3 Super Bowls versus 15 years of a guy playing like 23. That ain't going to cut it.
Yeah.
How about this one? Let's move off of him and go here. Would you have a problem with the Eagles signing Ndamukong Suh or trying to coax back Fletcher Cox?
No, not at all. I think that's maybe one of the biggest needs going into the season. You're going to rely, and I am higher on Jalen Carter than most. I know everybody's high on him. I think this guy can literally be a Hall of Fame defensive tackle. But you're going to put everything on him in year 2 and Jordan Davis losing 700 snaps from Fletcher Cox and then relying on Milton Williams and Marlon Tuipulotu. That's not a good idea. Even if they don't get a lot of snaps, you need a guy that can go in there and clog the holes. Like, I like Calais Campbell. He's pretty old too. So, but somebody like that, somebody that can
15% of the snaps.
Right.
Take
a little bit of that load off those front guys. They're young. You got to give them that time to really grow into their bodies fully, because I don't think they are yet. How old is Jalen Carter? 20.
Oh, he's got to be 21, 22. He may have stayed all 4 years. Maybe he came out declared.
No, he didn't stay all 4 years. He was a 3-year guy.
Okay, well then he's 21.
He's 23, but he just turned 23 in April.
He must have redshirted. Okay.
He just turned 23 in April. I mean, this is a guy this is a guy that's not going to be, he's already dominant. He's already full-bodied. But when he's 25, 26 years old, he's going to be that grown man, that full body built out. That's what we need to get him to. And if we need to bring some people along for depth to get him there, I'm perfectly fine doing that.
How old is Jordan? How old is Davis?
Give me 1 second. I'll tell you.
If he might be younger. He actually might be
24, and he turned 24 in January. So he'll be 25 around the end of the year here.
And he's been in the league longer.
Yeah, well, 1 extra year.
Okay, so
is it 1 extra year?
No,
yes,
2.
Extra, yeah. No,
well,
1 extra year
wasn't his first year.
No, last year was his second year.
Yeah. So you're telling me he was 22 when he came into the league? These are young men.
These are really young men. I mean, you're talking about super young men. That's why I like that Keely Ringo. We talked about him.
There's kids coming in this year into the NFL that because of the COVID.
Yeah, I think 25. Cooper DeJean. Isn't Cooper DeJean already like 23?
Like the guys you drafted. Get this. I think the Quinyon Mitchell.
No, Cooper DeJean's 21. Quinyon Mitchell's the one that's older.
Quinyon Mitchell might be 23.
He's 22 in July. But okay. So yeah, next month he'll be 23.
He's going to be 23 years old, and you're 2 defensive tackles, and one of them, Jordan Davis, has been in the league 2 years, and he's as old as the guy you drafted this year.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize how super fucking young they are in the middle in there.
Yeah, now on one hand, they should have an unlimited gas tank, but on the other hand, it is foolish to expect them to be at their peak, physical condition of what they're going to be, especially Jalen Carter, who came in, last year. But by the way, I think I'm high on both the players. I think both of them are going to be good. And I honestly am surprised that you're as hard on Jordan Davis as you are.
Well, because again, I'm actually harder on the fans' expectations than I am on him.
Right. That's kind of what where John's at too. John loves the player, but I just mean from a defensive tackle perspective, you obviously
he's not a DT.
I know he's not. So, but my point is, you played on that defensive line.
Yeah.
You know what the difference is in those positions. You know what it means to have a guy like that.
Yeah.
I know maybe it's not so modern NFL, but it is Eagles defense. And
Xander,
I think the player can be great. I really do.
Xander, if he gives you 25 tackles a year and 4 sacks, that's Vince Wilfork.
Exactly.
Are you okay with that? If you're
I
a
mean, you could
Vince
argue they went
Wilfork
a
won
little
3
high
Super
for it,
Bowls.
but you could argue they drafted a little high for it, but I'm okay with
They
it.
did. He's more in the 20s, like I said he should have been 23, around there. 13's too high. And if everyone remembers, I said, I think this guy, his floor is going to be, if he ends up being like
Yeah,
Vince
I
Wilfork,
remember you said that. I remember
and
you
I
said that.
go, here's the high and here's the low. You're hoping he's Fletcher. But you know that I think the floor could be Vince. 25 tackles, 4 sacks. Vince won 3 Super Bowls. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Plus, he was dynamic in the run game.
How old is
That's
Linval
my
Joseph?
problem is everyone is expecting him because they saw his 40-yard at 4.78, as big as he was, and they saw him run down Allen, which was insane great.
Yeah, insane.
And you see that skill set he has. He's just not going to play like that, dude. Those are going to be spotty.
When you see that guy and you see the size, the speed, the athleticism, and then also you know how good that potential can be. And maybe that's why you're hard on him.
It is.
Because you're a guy with, and I mean this with 100% respect. You know this, Sills. You didn't play
right
up to your talent. You
Correct.
should have been a 10-year NFL guy with how good of a player you were. So I think sometimes when you see guys that you don't think are living up to what they should be,
100,
it almost hits home for you where you're like, son,
don't waste it.
Make the mistakes I made, you know?
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's where I come from that. That's where I'm coming from, is that you're watching a kid like that and you're going, don't fucking blow it because you can't put down a White Castle burger. That makes no sense for me.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. By the way, I got this text or this behind the scenes here from Hassan,
Reddick,
and I'm going to read it like one more time to you. ACL, stop believing the full shit that you're seeing on social media and all these apps, the news outlets. Everybody's running crazy with these narratives and all this bullshit, and people, and I hope you're not eating it all up. So it's obviously getting to him and his team on what's going on up there in New York right now. So just, again, this is going to play out a story here until something happens with the Jets. Maybe the Jets move off him. But how are you looking at this thing as it's playing out day to day? By the way, here's the number 2. Hassan Reddick and Aaron Rodgers, which I'm not concerned about. Rodgers will be fine.
Yeah, but what a show for Rodgers. Like, and I'm actually a Rodgers guy.
Makes no sense.
I'm a Rodgers guy, so I'm not even one of these people.
16,983
Joe Rogan interviews. I don't care about what he does in the darkness. I could give a shit. He's a great quarterback, but man, there is just no ability to get rid of that selfish man. You're the quarterback of an NFL team. This isn't your whole life forever. This is an 18-year window that you're at the end of where you can be a leader, be the bigger person, be the bigger man, put the team before yourself. You could go and win a Super Bowl. And he just doesn't want to do it. And look, that teach his own. I guess that's his prerogative, but I'm going to criticize it all day because the guy is so talented. He should be winning Super Bowls, and he's not. And
$16,953 a day that players miss because it's a mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, so they're going to miss $100,000. They're going to find 100 G's probably.
And so they're going to be for these mandatory minicamps. What's your take now with Howie in this deal here? You think he just wanted them out of the building because they didn't want the headache?
I think so. I mean, John says it's clear. It's straight it's straight money. They didn't want to give him the money because he's asking for $25 million. I mean, if you look around at the top paid edge rushers, they're getting paid big money. I mean, Nick Bosa's at $34 million, dude.
He's the second highest paid non-quarterback position player next to Jefferson.
Now, if Hassan Reddick believes he's in the same ballpark as Nick Bosa, then he's sadly mistaken. And he should get a new agent because they lied to him. What's your top number? Let's just say you're the GM of the Eagles right now. What would have been your top number for Reddick?
20.
I would say mine's 21. So I'm right there with you. He wants 25, and the other problems. I more lean that I think Vic Fangio. I don't think Vic Fangio made the decision. I think Howie made the decision. I think Howie's ego is too big to let Vic Fangio make the decision.
I don't think Vic wanted. I don't think Howie wanted Vic to have a tough player to coach.
Well, I think Howie went to Vic and said, "Look, I'm in this pickle here.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to pay this guy because he wants too much money. I'd rather do some other things with the money. dude, I know he deserved it, but it's a business.
No,
That doesn't mean you're going to get it just because you deserve it.
I know.
And I think Vic said, look, I can live without him. I can live without him. And I think that probably is ultimately what led to it, because Vic is not all the old school stuff you hear about everybody, everybody talking about him, his press conference. He's not a guy that strikes me that wants a player that's going to be like, well, I want to drop in coverage.
Remember what I told you when the first player that the Eagles signed was Huff? I said the writing's on the wall. He's out.
Yeah, that was obvious.
I said he's out. Okay, he's out. So I
will say, it was still bullshit the way Howie Roseman answered that question at the press conference.
Well, but again, the decision that he did, I get it, but the way he handles it and the way the Eagles handle
when you put up that defensive
image like that,
and you get mad at a guy who's doing his job, asking you a question about you getting rid of the number one defensive player you've had in your club,
it's about control.
But that also makes me question, like, maybe this really was a bad deal. That's why you got so damn defensive about it. Versus if he was like, it's the NFL, we moved on. I wish I saw him best. All good. Okay, great. Move on. Howie's
I think it had more to do with Howie not wanting to explain himself.
Yeah, but dude, you're the GM of a football team.
I get
into the private sector if you don't want to answer questions. So
see this kid here? Look at this.
That pissed me off though. It really did. And I told John that, and he's like, yeah, he puts on the spiel for Howie Roseman. I'm like, come on, McMullen. That's BS. It really was.
And that's what makes that show great. Those guys go back and forth, and we all do here. Xander now, Jesus, pushing McMullen and Cilio around. Holy shit, this guy here, man. What do I do here? What have you guys all created here? By the way, how about them kicking ass today on the likes?
Oh my God, the fans are the best. They're going nuts in the chat. I had to mute some people out. I hate muting people. I really do. Yeah, but when someone writes 888 comments and the only thing you can read when you look at the chat is dumb spam, I can't keep it because now Sills can't use the chat. Yeah, so I boot some people out of here because they're just driving me nuts. But
hey, congratulations. Where are we at right now in that like button, man? That's pretty awesome. We're rolling into the final hour. We've already got the number. I'd like to get to 300 on where we are.
239.
Holy cow, 61 away. Way to go, guys. You guys absolutely killed it today, man. I mean, hey, let me put it to you this way, dudes. Remember how everybody...
That's right, Wayne. This is Xanderland here, baby.
Yeah, Xanderland. I love that, man. Hey, what I tell you, there's no downtime on Jacob. There's downtime everywhere else. You don't have downtime here. There's no such thing. Great stuff.
47 Sills. We're running. The people are showing us some love today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
When I was younger, my uncle used to say, "Welcome to the Xander Zone." So I think Xander Zone is better than Xander Land, but I'll take him.
Xander Zone. I love it.
Now I sound like Big Sills. I'm talking about myself in the third person. What is happening? What is happening over here?
No, wait a minute. I got it. Ready, guys? Big Z.
Big Z.
Xander, thanks, brother.
Thank you, Sills. Appreciate it, man. See you guys.
You got it. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the Jacob Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.